Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations. If you enjoy these videos, please click on the red subscribe button below the video and click the bell for more. Welcome to our online church, a congregation made up of many from around the world. No offering is necessary. Subscribing and watching videos will keep us alive under God's watchful eyes. Today, we will be continuing with the second part of our series on biblical names starting with B. Baal Hermann, meaning Lord Hammon, was the chief god of ancient Carthage, or Carthage as some pronounce it. He was a weather god considered responsible for the fertility of vegetation and esteemed as king of the gods. He was depicted as a bearded older man with curling ram's horns. Baal Hermann's female partner was Tanit. He is clearly identified as one of the Phoenician deities covered under the name of Baal. However, the meaning of his second name is unclear. Frank Moore Cross argued for a connection to Hammon, the Ugaritic name for Mount Amanus, a peak in the Nur Mountains which separated Syria from Cilicia. In the 19th century, when Ernest Renan excavated the ruins of Hammon between Tyre and Acre, he found two Phoenician inscriptions dedicated to El Haman. Others have proposed Haman as the syncretic association with Libyan Egyptian god Amun, while a last current has called instead for a connection with the Northwest Semitic word Haman, suggesting the sense Lord of the brazier. The worship of Baal Hermann flourished in the Phoenician colony of Carthage. His supremacy among the Carthaginian gods is believed to date to the 5th century BC, after relations between Carthage and Tyre were broken off at the time of the Battle of Himera, 480 BC. Baal Hermann was known as the chief of the pantheon of Carthage and the deity that made vegetation grow. As with most deities of Carthage, his powers relied on child sacrifice. He has been identified with a solar deity, although Yigal-Yadin thought him to be a moon god. Edward Lipinski identifies him with the god Dagon. In Carthage and North Africa, Baal Hermann was especially associated with the ram and was worshipped also as the Lord of Two Horns in an open-air sanctuary at the Two-Horned Hill across the bay from Carthage in Tunisia. Baal Hermann is suggested to have been the name of the leader of the tribe of the area. Baal means Lord in the case of a region known as Hermon. Baal meant owner, and by extension Lord, Master, and Husband in Hebrew and the other Northwest Semitic languages. In some early contexts and theoretic or theophoric names, it and Bali, my Lord, were treated as synonyms of Adon and Adonai. After the time of Solomon, and particularly after Jezebel's attempt to promote the worship of the Lord of Tyre, Melkart. However, the name became particularly associated with the Canaanite storm god Baal Haddu, and was gradually avoided as a title for Yahweh. The prophet Hosea is particular reproached the Israelites for continuing to use the term. It will come about in that day, declares the Lord, that you will call me Ishi, and will no longer call me Bali. Bayless, son of delight, is the name given to the book of Jeremiah for the king of Ammon. He instigated the murder of Gedaliah, the Babylonian appointed Jewish governor of Jerusalem. When the Babylonians conquered Judah in the early 6th century BCE and destroyed Jerusalem, they made Gedaliah a member of the prominent Jerusalem family, governor of Judah. But he was soon murdered, an event still commemorated in Jewish tradition by an annual fast. The assassin was sent by none other than Bayless, king of the Ammonites, in Jeremiah chapter 40, verses 13 to 41. The name Bayless means Baal has saved, or Baal is salvation. This is not the first time Bayless has appeared in the archaeological record. His name also appears in an inscription excavated at Tel El-Umeri in Jordan. Still, another Ammonite king appears in a bulla, also being published here for the first time. But the Ammonite king is otherwise unknown. The name Baroquel means blessed of God. The same name also appears in the Bible. The father of Job's friend, Elihu, is named Baroquel in Job chapter 32, verses 2 and 6. The name was apparently common among the Ammonites. We know of 3 Ammonites called Baroquel. However, now we know that there was a hitherto unknown king by this name as well. Beelzebub is a name derived from a Philistine god, formerly worshipped in Ekron, and later adopted by some Abrahamic religions as a major demon. The name Beelzebub is associated with the Canaanite god Baal. In theological sources, predominantly Christian, Beelzebub is another name for Satan. He is known in demonology as one of the 7 princes of hell. The Dictionary Infernal describes Beelzebub as being capable of flying, known as the Lord of the Flyers, or the Lord of the Flies. The source for the name Beelzebub is in the books of Kings. In 2 Kings chapter 1, verses 2 to 16, written Balzebub, referring to a deity worshipped by the Philistines, or Philistine. The title Baal, meaning Lord in Ugaritic, was used in conjunction with a descriptive name of a specific god. Opinions differ on what the name means. In one understanding, Balzebub is translated literally as Lord of the Flies. It was long ago suggested that there was a relationship between the Philistine god and cults of flies, referring to a view of them as pests, feasting on excrement appearing in the Hellenic world. This is confirmed by the Ugaritic text, which depicts Baal expelling flies, which are the cause of a person's sickness. The deity's actual name would have been Baal Zebul, Lord of the heavenly dwelling, and Baal Zebub could have been a derogatory pun used by the Israelites. Belzebub was used in the Hebrew language as a pun with Baal Zebul, where Zebul meant of the manner, and in a derogatory manner, Belzebub was used to offend the enemies of the Israelites. The Septuagint renders the name of Beelzebub and as Baal Muyan or Ball of Flies. However, Symmachus may have reflected a tradition of its offensive ancient name when he rendered it as Belzebul. In the Testament of Solomon, Belzebul appears as a prince of the demons and says that he was formerly a leading heavenly angel who was associated with the star Venus. Seemingly, Belzebul here is synonymous with Lucifer. Belzebul claims to cause destruction through tyrants, to cause demons to be worshipped among men, to excite priests to lust, to cause jealousies in cities and murders, and to bring on war. The Testament of Solomon is an Old Testament work, purportedly written by King Solomon, in which Solomon mostly describes particular demons, whom he enslaved to help build Solomon's temple, with substantial Christian interpolations. In Mark chapter 3 verse 22, the scribes accuse Jesus of driving out demons by the power of Beelzebul, the prince of demons. The name also appearing in the expanded version in Matthew chapter 12 verses 24 and 27 and Luke chapter 11 verses 15, 18 and 19. The name also occurs in Matthew chapter 10 verse 25. Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. If Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then can his kingdom stand? And if I drive out demons by Belzebul, by whom do your people drive them out? So then, they will be your judges. But if I drive out demons by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God has come upon you." Zebul might derive from a slurred pronunciation of Zebub, from Zebel, a word used to mean dung in the Targums, or from Hebrew Zebul, found in 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 13, in the phrase Bet Zebul, lofty house. In any case, the form Belzebub was substituted for Belzebul in the Syriac translation and Latin Vulgate translation of the Gospels, and this substitution was repeated in the King James Version. The resulting form, Belzebul, being mostly unknown to Western Europe and descendant cultures until some more recent translations restored it. Belzebub is also identified in the New Testament as the devil, the prince of demons. In Arabic translations, the name is rendered as Balzabul. Texts of the Gospel of Nicodemus vary. They use Belzebul or Belzebub. The name is used by Hades as a secondary name for the devil, but it may vary with each translation of the text. Other versions separate Belzebub from the devil. Belzebub is commonly described as placed high in hell's hierarchy. According to the stories of the 16th century occultist Johann Weyer, Belzebub led a successful revolt against the devil, is the chief lieutenant of Lucifer, the emperor of hell, and presides over the order of the fly. Sebastian Michaelis placed Beelzebub among the three most prominent fallen angels, the other two being Lucifer and Leviathan. John Milton, in his epic poem Paradise Lost, first published in 1667, identified an unholy trinity consisting of Beelzebub, Lucifer, and Astaroth, with Beelzebub as the second ranking of the many fallen angels. Milton wrote of Beelzebub, "Than whom Satan except none higher sat." Beelzebub is also a character in John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress, first published in 1678. Sebastian Michaelis associated Beelzebub with the deadly sin of pride. However, according to Peter Binsfeld, Beelzebub was the demon of gluttony, one of the other 7 deadly sins, whereas Francis Barrett asserted that Beelzebub was the prince of false gods. Within religious circles, the accusation of demon possession has been used as both an insult and an attempt to categorize unexplained behavior. Not only had the Pharisees disparagingly accused Jesus of using Beelzebub's demonic powers to heal people in Luke chapter 11, verses 14 to 26, but others have been labeled possessed for acts of an extreme nature. The name Balzav is found in Malachim 2, chapter 1, verses 2, 3, 6, and 16, where King Ahaziah of Israel, after seriously injuring himself in a fall, sends messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of the Philistine city of Ekron, to learn if he will recover. Now Ahaziah fell through the lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and he became ill. And he sent messengers and said to them, "Go inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I will recover from this illness." Elijah the prophet then condemns Ahaziah to die by God's words, because Ahaziah sought counsel from Beelzebub rather than from God. But an angel of the Lord spoke to Elijah the Tishbite, "Arise, go up toward the king of Samaria's messengers and speak to them. Is it because there is no God in Israel that you go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore, so has the Lord said, from the bed upon which you have ascended, you will not descend, for you shall die." And Elijah went. Baal Zephan, meaning dim, was the form of the Canaanite storm god Baal, in his role as Lord of Mount Zephan. He is identified in the Ugaritic text as Hadad. The name is therefore sometimes given in translation as Lord of the North. He was equated with the Greek god Zeus in his form Zeus Cassios, and later with the Roman Jupiter Cassius. Because Baal Zephan was considered a protector of maritime trade, sanctuaries were constructed in his honor around the Mediterranean by his Canaanite and Phoenician devotees. Baal Zephan is known to have been worshipped at Tyre and Carthage and served as the chief god of the colony of Tapans. This is part 2 of the biblical names, starting with B. Adonai Nisi, the Lord is our banner. God's blessings be upon us all.